everyone, it's Nitson here, and in case you're not tracking, Week 1 of the Battlefield 6 open beta just wrapped up. So let's talk about the good, bad, and ugly. Wait, sorry, wrong slide. For some quick background, as a veteran myself of Operation Metro 2011 and Operation Locker 2013, I've been with the franchise since Battlefield 3, played through the life cycle of Battlefield 4 and the life cycle of Battlefield 1, which won't be the most popular opinion, but I see as one of my favorites of the franchise, with its rich, palpable atmosphere, leading to some of the most immersive experiences throughout all the games. I have skipped Battlefield 5 and Battlefield 2042 after playing each respective betas, so apologies if some of the features noted here are a bit redundant as being added in one of those installments. I've had some hands-on time with the Battlefield 6 Alpha, and throughout Week 1 of the open beta, I've reached level 12 and have completed the majority of the class challenges available. So without further ado, let's get into some of the positives we can see so far. Firstly up is the game loop. This is Battlefield at its purest form. Combined arms warfare in full effect and destruction brought back to its former glory. Gunfights are rapid and explosive. Gunplay is snappy and very responsive. Kills, especially headshots, feeling very rewarding, with feedback and sound effects being on point. This, without a doubt, is the best Battlefield has felt in a while. Adding to which is a new movement system, which is not as fluid or flashy as Omni movement that you would see in Black Ops 6, but is giving the player the most agency over the soldier that we have seen in the franchise. You slide, dive, and roll to and from gunfights and explosions, adding even more to the bombastic action movie feel that we all love in our Battlefield games. The game loop is very addicting. Even right now, I wish I could hop back into the beta just to experience it even more. Added with that, classes in this game finally brought back, don't know why they ever went away, are some of the most in-depth class kits that we have ever seen before, even with how limiting the pool is of gadgets and weapons in the open beta, which I have a theory as to why, but we'll get back into that a little bit later. Lastly, this is a beautiful game, which of course it is because it's a Battlefield game, but it has to be said. The art direction of this game clearly places it as a successor to Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. Which really makes it feel like this is the sequel that everybody was more so expecting back in 2016. Really creating such a lived-in and grounded view. Now let's move on to some of the negatives. Armored vehicles have it rough. And if you want to be technical about it, yes, it might be realistic if you look at something like the U-word. But when it comes to game balancing, it's not that enjoyable. There's just so many counters available when you look at aircraft and gadgets. The presence of armored vehicles just isn't really felt that much. There's been multiple times where me and 3 other engineers are desperately trying to keep our tank alive, but they just get melted too fast whenever we combine everything together. And this isn't even the full game's release pool. There are so many gadgets of things that I've seen even in the trailer of drones and everything that when that gets incorporated, I don't know how they can really stay on the map for very long. And not to mention the geometry, which you can feel it as infantry, but it's really felt in a vehicle, is how rough and botsy that the geometry gets and how much you get caught on debris and rocks, falling facades of buildings. It just makes it very difficult to maneuver around all the projectiles getting thrown at you, which pushes vehicle operators to just anchor down at a point and use it more as a firing position and go for easy picks, rather than using it in unison with infantry pushes as a spearhead to take objectives. And while we're on the topic of balancing, we have to talk about the assault's weapon sling, which I was saying classes are very depth and feel really good. This one might need some tweaking, because I feel instead of trying to balance weapons around assaults being able to carry 2 primaries, I feel that we need to just attack the weapon sling at the root That way the shotgun can still perform how it wants to, but can't be a panic swap to assault players for an easy one-tap kill. Limiting the categories available to the weapon sling is probably the best way to do this. Also, maybe increasing the time of the animation for the weapon swap. And lastly, no server browser, which is a big deal. You can see it a lot online throughout the Battlefield community. Everybody wants a server browser, and I too personally feel for the longevity of the game and the health of the game and stability, server browser is a crucial implementation. Now, I don't think it's an easy one. I know a lot of people say it like it is. I do feel like those resources expended in this process will be worth it if Battlefield 6 is to have a long life cycle comparable to some of its predecessors. Now on to the ugly. These are going to be some of the mixed opinions. One of them being the campaign, which I know this is outside of the subject of the multiplayer, but it's still a pretty big component of this release, or at least it could be, being that most of the Battlefield campaigns have been pretty unremarkable affairs. With the rumors of a very rushed and resource-bare dev cycle dedicated to this campaign, I worry that the bad impressions given from a poor or mediocre story installment can really hurt the sales at the launch of this game. And that is something that DICE just cannot afford with this release. Because if we look at the other rumors from EA sources, the internal goals of EA is to have numbers the likes of which Fortnite and Call of Duty Warzone, which I believe with the highest player count of Battlefield 1 being nowhere remotely close. So we have to ask ourselves, what happens when Battlefield 6 doesn't hit those numbers? Will the arbitrary shackles placed on it kill any further support or development for this game? And when we look at releases, Battlefield notoriously has very technically harsh releases with a lot of bugs, a lot of visual glitches. In this day and age, those types of issues in games are lambasted constantly. If a game doesn't have wood chopping or horse testicle physics, it is seen as a lesser product. And with the relatively fast turnaround of this game, I worry for the technical state that it will release in. Because even a critical darling like CD Projekt Red got its reputation completely torn down after the release of Cyberpunk. And that's one of the reasons I feel that the pool of weapons and gadgets and maps in this beta is so limited, that these are the only things polished enough to be shown off, because there's no reason to be holding back right now. It's not far reach to say that Battlefield as a franchise has been struggling to be relevant since 2016. This is the time to give it your all, and there's just not a lot here. And yes, it's a beta, it's an older build, but this game comes out 3 months from now, which is not a lot of time to be building and patchworking this game still. So it feels with DICE delivering from so many fields a product that seems to be everything the community has been asking for over the years, that there has to be a catch. It seems like a lot of people in the community are waiting for the other shoe to drop, but I feel that the other shoe isn't anything that DICE will do wrong, that the catch is making a good game in 2025 is just not good enough sometimes. If we look back just a few years to the release of Halo Infinite, a game that was so well received by critics and fans of the franchise, it was not enough to keep that game afloat. The demand of new content is something that most studios are just not capable enough to keep up with. Consumers nowadays have been conditioned to be a content black hole, a gluttonous vacuum of constantly needing and being fed more and new things, more maps, more weapons, more cosmetics, new seasons, new cycles, new modes, new battle passes, and the list just goes on and on. And even the more dedicated, the more traditional fans will say that that's not what it needs, but the only reason it's like that is because it pays. People pay for it. Rainbow Six Siege would not have so many anime skins if they didn't pay. It is just the way of the market now. Halo Infinite was a good game. It delivered. It was Halo 2 revitalized for the new age, just like this is Battlefield 3 revitalized for the new age, and it wasn't good enough for the market to stay afloat. Now, Halo Infinite, yes, it is a first-party game, but that means it was on Xbox and PC. Battlefield 6 has the advantage of also being on PlayStation, but that added player base doesn't make up for the price tag that is involved with this one. Now, I do want nothing more than to see this franchise thrive and survive and flourish and be one of the greats again, but we'll have to see in October if Battlefield still has that fight in it. I honestly can say this might be one of the most important and pivotal releases of this franchise. But those are just my thoughts. Please let me know yours in the comments down below. I would love to be able to start a conversation here. Thank you all for watching. Stay dangerous, and I will see you in the next video.